Hola. Hola, this is your instructor explanation video for a review of lesson 7 for your final exam. Let's get into things. So these are the 4 topics that make up chapter 7. However, I am not going to go over every topic. I'm going to focus on topics that I feel are particularly are places that students often and regularly make mistakes, so that you won't have to make the same mistake on the final exam. Please keep in mind that you do need to know all of these topics, and you are free to review these topics using your VHL practice assignments, your resources in Moodle, and your study guide. For today, let's focus on the first topic that's going to be included in this instructor video, which is reflexive verbs. Now, I'm going to give you 3 slides so we can review reflexive verbs. If you need more time, please look at lesson 7-1 in your ebook. All right, so the pronoun say, spelled S-E, attached to an infinitive verb is what lets us know that, hey, this verb is reflexive. So this is our say. We see it here attached onto the infinitive of lavar. That say tells us, hey, this is reflexive, all right? When we conjugate reflexive verbs, remember there are always 2 sets at a most basic level. That say that tells us that it is reflexive will be changed when we conjugate it to agree with who the subject is. So if the subject is yo, it changes to may. If it's to, it changes to te. And you guys can see the pattern here going down. We've all seen this by now. So that's step 1. Choose the correct form of say, according to whoever the subject is or whoever the subjects are. Step 2, conjugate the verb. The verb will either be an AR, ER, or IR verb. In this example, we're conjugating in the present tense, so we have our o, as, a, amos, an ending. And that's it. That's the most basic part of what makes up a reflexive verb. Again, this is just a review, not a full breakdown. So let's start with activity number 1. The first activity that may be helpful to those, that may be helpful for those students that will be taking this final exam. Let's start with the instructions. The instructions say, describe the photos using the subject or subjects, and the present progressive. Include the time in your description. Important for you to remember, on your final exam, check if the verb that you want to use is reflexive or not. It's extremely important. If it isn't reflexive, remember that you will have to include the correct form of that reflexive pronoun say. All right. So when you look at these pictures that you're about to see, here is a formula that may help you create your description. The formula aligns with the directions given. So when you look at this photo over here, and you need to describe it, you're going to start with the subject, plus the verb in the present progressive, which the directions say you to do, plus that phrase, alas, which means at the time. Then you're going to check if it's reflexive. And remember, say is a common reflexive pronoun when we are talking in the third person, which is what you may have to do on the final exam. So here is an example photo. Describe this picture. The picture gives us our subject, and he's doing an action, the time, and it tells us the time of day that this is the morning. So when we create the actual answer following this formula here given in the yellow, we get subject, reflexive pronoun, present progressive of the verb, course, we're saying what he's brushing, which is his teeth, all part of the action or the verb phrase, at 7:30 in the morning. El chico se está cepillando los dientes a las 7:30 de la mañana. Our second option is el chico, excuse me. All right. El chico, thank you, está cepillándose los dientes a las 7:30 de la mañana. Now, as you all know by now, that reflexive pronoun se can either go in front of our conjugated verb or attached on the end of what we have here, a present participle, and we do know that rule applies to infinitives as well, okay? And it translates as the guy or the boy. You could have put el hombre. There are different options for the subject as long as it's logical. Here, I chose to use el chico. El chico, the boy, is brushing his teeth at 7:30 in the morning. And that's our answer. All right, so for the rest of these, we're going to go a little faster. We have a picture here. We see that they are waking up, eyes opening, not getting up. Remember, there are two differences between the verb to get up, levantarse, y the verb to wake up, despertarse. En este caso, vamos a usar el verbo despertarse, to wake up. Now, I'm going to give you a moment to create your answer. Remember the formula that was shown, and remember to include everything you see here in color. If you need more time, please feel free. I'm going to move on now and show the answer, which gives us ellos se están despertando a las 5 de la mañana, or ellos están despertándose a las 5 de la mañana. They both mean they are waking up at 5 in the morning. Notice our subject, our verb, our time, and we checked to make sure we had our reflexive pronoun in both cases. All right, our second example and last example in the present tense. Here's our picture. Take a minute. Can you figure out what the answer should be? If you need more time, feel free to pause. I'm going to move on and show the answer. Here we have el chico se está vistiendo a las 8:15 de la mañana, or el chico está vistiéndose a las 8:15 de la mañana. They both mean the boy is getting dressed at 7:45 in the morning. Subject, verb, time in the green, and we check about our reflexive pronoun, which is here in front of the conjugated verb or attached, and on the end of that present participle. Now the instructions are going to change. Let's practice describing the same photos in the preterite instead of the present progressive. So when we were using the present progressive, we had to remember subject, present progressive, time, and make sure our reflexive is in there. Now we're going to do subject, preterite, time, and make sure our reflexive is there. Now, when we're using the preterite, there's still two steps to conjugate a reflexive verb. The first one will be to use the correct form of se, which we have here. But the second step is, instead of using the present tense of o, as, a, amos, and on for the present tense of these AR verbs, we are actually going to use the preterite for our AR, ER, and IR endings, which are here in the yellow. And we've all seen this. Remember, this is just a review. All right, so now that we know what we're going to do when we're forming these descriptions in the preterite or in the past while using our reflexive, let's look at an example. And then we're going to look at two exercises that you guys can try to follow along with at home. Instructions, describe the photos using the subject and the preterite. Include the time in your description and check if the verb is reflexive. Here's our photo. We see that to clarify whether we're brushing or combing, we actually have the clue here telling us what this is. We have our time and we have the time of the day. This is the AM. Let's look at the example. We have our same basic formula here, subject, verb now in the preterite instead of present progressive. We have the phrase for et that we use with time and then the actual time. The answer becomes ella peinó el pelo a las 7 de la mañana, adding in that reflexive pronoun se in front of our conjugated verb. We have ella se peinó el pelo a las 7 de la mañana. Okay? That should be ella se cepilló. Excuse me. Excuse me, I forgot my own clue that it's meant to brush. When I looked at it, my mind shifted for a moment, but it should be ella se cepilló. All right, let's move on. We have two short activities that you can do at home. Would you please describe this photo that you see? Take a moment if you need more time. I'm going to get ready to show the answer. And the answer would be, la mujer se lavó las manos a las 8 de la mañana. Subject, reflexive in front of the conjugated verb. The rest of what we need to include with that verb to make it make sense. So the woman, she washes her hands at 8 in the morning. La mujer se lavó las manos a las 8 de la mañana. And our last activity or our last exercise for you at home, take a minute to figure this out. And the answer becomes, la chica se maquilló a las 8:15 de la mañana. The girl, she puts her makeup on, or put her makeup on, at 8:15 in the morning. Subject, reflexive in front of the conjugated preterite, or in our time. All right, that wraps it up for reflexive verbs. I hope that that was a great walkthrough and review for you. Remember, if you need more assistance, you have a lot of things located for you in the Moodle. Adios.